Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Pricing Lady. I'm so happy to have you here with me today. We're experiencing a few technical difficulties, so bear with us as we get started here. I would like to remind you that this show is all about pricing and helping you to do better pricing in your business so you can close more deals and get better prices. Today, I'm very excited to have special guest Erik Eklund on the show. Hello, Erik. Welcome.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. So, Erik, why don't we start off by you telling the audience who you are and what you do?
Well, trying to be as humanly human as possible. Being human, now, what I'm doing here is that I'm giving coaching and speaking on how to use the power of our minds and the power of the human connection to really live that life where we can move forward with balance and connection rather than just hustling and stressing around and all this thing, but staying true to who we are, what we want to do, and with those tools of our mind, which I'm super fascinated about, and I believe is really the key to how we can move forward in life. I share that with people.
Excellent. So, thank you so much for being on the show with us today. I'm really excited, and I heard from some of the audience out there that they were interested in what you had to share with us about your own pricing journey and where you started and how you've gotten to be where you are in terms of pricing in your business.
Okay.
I also wanted to say that I found it really interesting when you and I first chatted on the phone about having you come on the show. You said something to me, and it still has stuck with me, and that was about how you communicate is your way of moving in the world. And I thought that was a really interesting thing to say that I found quite meaningful. And I'm curious. So, how did you get into what you do?
By being when I say that I'm curiously human, it's really I have in my entire life been super curious of who am I, why am I here, and it's coming from that I'm adopted, and since I was little, I've been having this kind of, but who am I? I mean, growing up in Sweden, I don't look anything Swedish, which has been a very obvious thing in my life, right? And then, so when did this begin? It began already back then, but I wasn't conscious about this at all at that point, right? And then it has been growing forward and forward and forward in my life until it's come to the point where I'm 28, I think. So it's about now 7 years ago that I'm coming to this point in my life where what should I really do? I'm at 28, I've been studying, I have my degrees, I'm moving towards 30s. It's that typical breach in our life where it's like, okay, it doesn't make sense what I'm doing. Let's do something that I feel like I'm fired up about. So I'm kind of propelled into this whole personal development, self-improvement, and I finding all these books suddenly like, oh, I can read all this, and I'm starting to be open for that. Hey, there's a whole new way of living. And by doing those discoveries, I learned then that I had been living since I was little. The curiosity, the questions I've been asking, the answers I've been finding, the discoveries I made has shaped then my way here.
Interesting. Interesting. It is very common that what people end up doing in their jobs is something that, they were faced with or seeking answers for in their own lives. And I always find that connection very interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us how, when we're talking about your own pricing journey, earlier in your business and when you started your business, how did you approach pricing, or did you approach it? Some people.
Well, I will keep it brutally honest in this show with you. How did I approach it? Extremely inefficient.
What do you mean by
I
that?
can say now when I'm looking back at it, right? I approached it as oh, but I really want to help people now. I want to offer coaching, and oh, what shall I do? I want to give speeches. So people said like, oh, do you want to do it? It's like, yes. And there was no prompt from them to say, how much do you charge? There was just like, do you want to do it? It's like, yes, I want to do it. And then I'm thinking, shall I ask them for payments, or shall I just go with this? I'm starting out, so I should probably not ask for anything. So I just gave and gave and gave,
Right.
which I then learned is not the most effective strategy to be able to actually make revenue, right? And make a brand name.
In terms of a business model, it's a bit one-legged.
Exactly. It is a little bit, but at the same time, remember, I'm in this entrepreneurial startup phase, and I'm reading all these books. I'm listening to all these people saying, you need to start generous, and you need to get out there and give to the world. And now, about 6 years later, I'm looking back and saying, there's a lot of people preaching out there. But I should have looked at one point, everyone that gave me all this advice, I should have looked for one thing. Where are they at in their journey?
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So how did you recognize that something was not right, or that you might need to do something different? What cued you in to recognize that?
I didn't make any money.
That is a very good clue.
Yeah. I'm coming to the point where, it's really, I need money. Like, I can't keep going. I need to go back to, I don't know, hotels and restaurants if I don't. I need to get my full-time job in my other way if I don't make money now.
Right. It's funny because, and this totally connects, with what you're doing. I mean, pricing, in my opinion, is actually an act of self-care in a business. Yeah.
Oh, that's a very nice way of putting it. Yeah. It's an act of self-care in business. You should quote that.
It really is, because if you can't, as a business owner, if you can't earn a living with it, then you're not going to be there to serve others later and have that financial freedom that you need, right?
100%.
Right. So what did you start doing differently?
It started with, this is when I'm finding out why, like right now, everything that I do is focused on two components. And that's the connection, which many people can refer to as purpose, or relationships and whatsoever. It's the connection to yourself and it's connection to others. But then the second one is the balance. In life, it's not either or, it's finding that balance. And what I realized at that point was, you know what? I had to find a balance between giving free coaching or free speeches or free appearances wherever they ask for it, right? And charging as well. And at the same time, I can find middle grounds in terms of my pricing. Okay, they won't be able to pay me financially for a workshop, but I can find other ways that they can pay me in some way, right? So that's where it really began, when I realized that, you know what? There's no such thing as I'm just going to show up for free, because it's really, as you say, it is me holding myself at a very, very lower value than I am worth, so to say. So the act of self-care wasn't there. And that's where it started. Right. So I started with, what is it that I actually want in return to feel good about myself, to feel in that flow, and most importantly, to be motivated to get there in the first place.
Right. Interesting. And so one of the questions that I had, one of the things that we had discussed was your relationship to money actually influenced what you did with pricing in your business. Can you tell us more about that?
So we haven't really come yet to when I started to put like the brackets and all this stuff, answering the question, what do you charge? But this is, it came a little later, when I don't know of some reason, if it was a book or somewhere, I read just this thing of, you don't have a money problem, you have a spending problem. That was the first thing I took away. Like, oh yeah, it's so true. Like most people don't have a money problem. We just have like an income problem. We have a spending problem. That was the first thing that came to my mind. Second one was, what is your relationship to money? And it can be a really quick exercise. And like, I don't know if you heard about it. It's this thing of, if you visualize money, and if you make money a human being, is it a woman or a man? First of all, and then it's like, when it is either, so I can give you my example. It's like, is it a woman or a man? Oh, it's a man. And can you tell me, what is the man dressed like? What is he looking like? It's like it's a white Caucasian man, very like handsome, blonde haired, suit and tie and all this stuff. Swedish, aka like politics, kind of corporate, right? And then when I did this exercise, I was thinking of, this is how you are referring to success, and this is your relation, this is your connection approach to money.
Right.
How do you feel about this man?
Right.
And I was like, there was nothing in me that I wanted to be that man. It was just on my reference.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. It was completely like, that is not where I want to go, but that's my projection of money, really.
Right.
And I learned later, so now I'm actually using this technique myself when I'm giving speeches or I'm coaching my clients. And as a quick tip is, if it is a man, by default, we're moving in towards the more negative relationship towards money. Why? Because we're talking about the male versus the feminine energy here. It's way deeper than, is it a man or a woman? But it was a way of me finding out the relationship to money.
Interesting. There's a very, very strong relationship between money, success, worthiness, and pricing. Yeah?
100%.
And pretty much all three go hand in hand. Yeah. Usually if one is suffering, then the other two are also somehow connected to that. Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah. So what have you done now with your pricing, or where did you go next in your journey? Let me put it that way. Maybe we're not to now yet. I don't know.
What I did was, so the first thing I did, I realized I had to fix this relationship towards money, as in, it is in my belief system. I projected this in my own mind. It's my own reality. It is, the reality could be so many different ways. But I learned straight away that I had a couple of words in my mind. So it's like, who's in my head? When I'm saying something, I immediately can hear my mom and my dad say, yeah, but how will you have money to do that? That's expensive. Use what is practical. You don't need to use any flashy and all this stuff. So I identified quickly, like, oh, this is coming from my mom and dad, and how they have been using money in their relationship to money. So by identifying this, it was like, oh, wait, I'm actually living a copy of what my mom and dad were thinking and their relationship to money.
Yeah. And that's usually where we learn it from, in a first step at least, is from our family members, from our parents, and how they related to money. Very true.
Yeah. So the first identification phase, the second phase was, wait, but what do I want to do with money? And this was, you mentioned it in the beginning, financial freedom. And I hear this a lot, like, oh, I want financial freedom. And I was feeling very like, I don't want financial freedom. But then I learned, as I said, wait, I do want financial freedom. I'm just shifting my relationship towards financial freedom, what that is, right? And
or at least ease, right? I mean, at least financial ease. I think freedom sounds a little bit better, but just to kind of have this easiness with finance in your life and not have it. I know for some people, it grips them and it really drives everything they do, right? And to have that freedom or that ease with it would be a huge step forward for many people.
Money, there's nothing bad with money. No. It's like, and with my pricing, it was this thing of, oh, wait, it's a reflection of my worthiness. It's a reflection of what I consider my worthiness. It's a reflection of what I consider the value of what I'm providing to you. Right. That's what it is. and I think this is something you do as well, I believe, right? A lot, right? This is the pricing.
Yeah.
And this is when I said, okay, but you know what? What do I believe is the value out of my speeches, out of my coaching? And this is when I went into, if I would say, learning lesson number 2 in my life. I started to look at, oh, but wait, how many people or how many hours are there? And I started to charge per hour. I started to charge like how many people are there in the audience and stuff like this, or in the workshop. And I learned at that point, I can maybe go straight into the learning lesson. Please, Erik, don't charge anyone based on how many people or how many hours. That's not what people are paying for. So that was the second
Not the
learning lesson I
value.
got.
It can be the value, but it's not the main value, right?
Yeah, I mean, of course, if there's a 2-day event, the one, like, yes, there's going to be different price in that way. But what I'm also experiencing a lot from people around me is they're looking straight away at, okay, wait, how many hours is that? Like, how much is that per hour? Versus, no, just look at the package here and say, what is it you are going to provide now? Like, people
What's the
are
ultimate
not
value?
exactly. People are not going to. The price that you're setting up there, like the price I say to you, is not based on that hour that I will share with you.
Right.
All that work and all that experience and all that, the way I've been putting that into the way I'm going to put it into, right?
Right. So time, I tell people, time is the wrapper your services are delivered in. Just like the box is the packaging your cereal is delivered in, but I don't buy my cereal for the box. So I don't buy services for the time.
Exactly. I mean, using this metaphor, right? You can go into the supermarket and you have 2 small boxes, right? One is bio, one is not bio. The price will be different.
Yeah.
And it's going to be based on the box, and it's not going to be based on like the weight or anything. It's going to be based on what's the value in that box.
Yeah, or the perceived outcome in this case.
Yeah.
Very good. So Erik, we're going to start wrapping things up here. I have a few questions for you. What's the one thing that you'd really like people to understand or take away from our discussion today?
To have an honest look, and I mean like one of those honest looks where you don't feel really comfortable on how do you really perceive money? How do you project money in your life? If money comes to you and say, oh, I need it, it's my safety and all this stuff.
Right.
I give you a tip straight away. Oh, we are tickling the nerves of your relationship to that money is not healthy right now.
Right.
That's the first thing I would like people to take away. Second thing. So once we're having that relationship, a little bit better relationship with money, dare to imagine when someone asks this question, how much do you charge? What is your price? Go for the price that tickles your uncomfortability nerves.
Yeah. There might be a little bit of tension there. I wouldn't say always say should, but there should be a little bit of tension. And oftentimes in pricing, you want to push those boundaries to find out how far you can go so that you know where that limit is, at least right now, but then you know where to play within. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
100%. And it's just like, I was about to do a thing here with a partner of mine, and she asked, okay, so how many hours and all this stuff? And I said, wait. Why are we doing this? How are we going to do this? For whom are we going to do this? Great. What do you feel is the value out of this right now? Then came the price. Please avoid the pricing the first thing you do when you are saying you're going to do anything, literally.
Right. Hear that, everyone? It's all about the value. Thank you for that. Erik, one more question. Well, I have 2 more questions. The second to last question is, what would you have done, or what do you recommend, or what would you have done differently if you knew now back then. If you knew what you knew now back then. Sorry, that was wonky.
In simple terms, I would say I would have spent more time, a little bit more time, instead of just running out there and starting to be active and giving and giving and giving. I would have said to people, yes, I would love to do this for you. And here's my price. And let's talk about that price. I would have set a price from the beginning,
Right.
hands down.
Right. And that's a really excellent point. Thank you for sharing that, because if you're not honest with yourself up front about what you're going to charge, and then somebody asks you, then you have to come up with an answer, excuse me, on the fly. And that is one of the things that makes people avoid getting in the situations where people might ask them what they charge. Right? You mentioned at the very beginning. Yeah. You mentioned at the beginning that you were waiting for them to ask you what to charge. Well, I mean, if somebody is savvy enough and looking to get a good deal, they won't ask you. They'll wait for you to tell them, right? And so you have to take the driver's seat in that. That's a beautiful point.
And to add to that one, because people and organizations and businesses will be more than happy if you come for free. Like, really. However, think of these people that there are people out there, sort of there's this bell curve of like innovators, early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggers. Really, if you're thinking about that, there are people out there who are always willing to pay the cheapest price. They want to come to you because you are the cheapest one, or they're trying to argue if they want to work with you or not, because if you are cheap enough for them. That's literally what they're thinking in their mind. And I think when you go to the supermarket and stuff, you can have that in your mind too, like, oh, that's cheaper than that one, I will go for that one, or right, it offers a discount. Especially if you're in the service industry. I was like, no, let's not go for the one who wants you because you're the cheapest one. Let's go for the one because you are the right one.
Right. And that, I mean, in getting people to understand the value you provide and why you're not necessarily the cheapest one, unless you have a strategy to be the low price leader, that's different, right? But why you're not necessarily the cheapest one, and helping them to understand that value is the precursor to delivering your price. Yeah, that's got to come up. All right, Erik, one last question for you. If people like to find out more about you, get in connection with you, or more about what you do as a coach or a speaker, how can they reach out to you?
I'll send you the link there that goes straight to my virtual business card. That one is a great way to get to me. The link that you're showing right now here as well. My LinkedIn. I am very active and vocal on LinkedIn, so get in touch with me there as well. And especially in these COVID-19 times, I'm living in Barcelona, Spain. Everything is just right now in terms of pricing. I know myself, I've altered my pricing, so I'm way more flexible, and I'm talking to a lot of people about this right now. So get in touch.
Very good. So thank you, everyone. I'm so glad that you've joined us today. Thank you, Erik. I will pop the 2 links from Erik into the comments below so that you guys can get in contact with him, and be sure to connect with him on social media. So everyone, that's our show for today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'd like to let you know that I'm actually having a webinar in a couple weeks. I'll have 2, one in the afternoons, Central European time, and one in the evenings. That's October 1st and October 7th. I didn't prepare the link here, but you can always go to JanineListon.com or thepricinglady.com and find it there. I will also put that link into the chat directly to the webinar page so that you can join me for the webinar. That's what we have for you today, folks. Thank you so much for joining. I wish you all the best. And as always, enjoy pricing, everyone. Have a great day.